As a producer, how important is it to you, and how much control, I guess, do you exert over sort of the cohesiveness of these ideas when you're sort of working on them? I mean, people, will question like why people are filming in Paranormal Activity, or, sort of like the underlying concept of this. Like, how much participation do you have, and how much sort of freedom or control do you leave to the filmmakers?
The company is based on seceding control to the filmmakers. So we give, and I find when you do that, you have a lot more control over the movie. Because if you're not telling, you can't, first of all, we do that because everyone works for free on the movie. You can't ask someone to direct a movie for free and then tell them what to do. Like, if they're gonna only make money, if it works or not work, ultimately, they have to be the one to decide. They have to have the final say, so that whether it hits or not, at least it's their movie. But I find we have much more, in a bigger picture sense, much more control over the movies because we do let them do what they want to do. So when you tell someone you can do whatever you want, the first thing they say is, what would you do? So they solicit our opinion all the time. We give our opinion all the time through script development, casting, production, editorial, cuts, and it's a very collaborative process, but the filmmakers have the control, and Insidious and Sinister and Paranormal Activity, really those movies really belong to those directors, to James Wan and Scott Derrickson, Oren Peli, and this to James. And also we had another producing partner on this movie, which we haven't had on the other movies, Platinum Dunes, and they were also very kind of instrumental in the creative part of making the film.
Sure. Well, this movie is such an interesting sort of speculative fiction about like where we might go. But what do you feel like this movie actually has to say about sort of where we are now? I mean, in terms of a government making decisions on behalf of the people that kind of come at the expense of the people in a way.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a very violent movie about violence, which there have been some in the history of movies. I think, interestingly enough, I don't think it takes a political point of view. There are people on the right wing people who leaning towards the right who've seen the movie who said exactly what you said, is like, well, this just shows government should get out of our lives, right? The Purge is a bad idea, and the Purge is a government-imposed idea on the people, and the government should be smaller and impose less of their ideas. And people on the left talk about our obsession with guns, and this is what that would lead to. So that's been one of the things the surprising and interesting things that I've experienced as we've screened the movie is watching how both kind of sides of the aisle react to the movie, or both political persuasion you're on. What was your question now? I forgot your question.
Oh, just, sort of what you thought the movie, I mean, what you thought it had to say, whether or not it was like a sort of political leaning, just sort of,
yeah, I don't think it leans one way or another, but I think it's very political. I think the movie's political. I think it's first and foremost a scary, fun ride. It's a horror movie with thrill, it's a horror movie with like a little bit of thriller sprinkled in there. And I think second to that, it's a movie that makes people think and talk, and people want to talk about what a purge would be like and what they would do, and is it a good thing or is it a bad thing after they see the movie.